Adolf Hitler's story begins far from the halls of power, in the quiet Austrian town of Braunau am Inn. Born in 1889, young Adolf was a dreamer. He loved to sketch, filling his notebooks with whimsical drawings and grand architectural designs. Art, he believed, was his calling, his ticket to a life of meaning and purpose. Driven by this artistic passion, Hitler set his sights on Vienna, the cultural heart of Europe. He envisioned himself studying at the prestigious Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, immersing himself in a world of creativity and intellectual ferment. His heart brimmed with ambition, fueled by the unshakable belief in his artistic genius. However, fate had other plans for the aspiring artist. His application to the academy was rejected not once but twice. The rejections were a crushing blow to Hitler's confidence, shattering his dreams and leaving him feeling lost and disillusioned. The world, it seemed, refused to recognize his talent. This period of hardship and rejection would prove to be a turning point in Hitler's life, planting the seeds of resentment and frustration that would later blossom into something far more sinister. It was in the crucible of these early failures that the seeds of his dangerous ideology began to take root. The Vienna of Hitler's youth was a city of contrasts, a melting pot of cultures and ideologies. Amidst the grandeur of its palaces and the intellectual vibrancy of its cafes, poverty and social unrest festered. Hitler, now adrift and disillusioned, found himself drawn to the fringes of society. He scraped by, selling postcards of his artwork and taking odd jobs. It was during these lean years that he developed a deep-seated resentment towards the city and its inhabitants. He blamed his failures on the Jews, whom he saw as a threat to German culture and racial purity. His prejudice was further fueled by the anti-Semitic literature and political rhetoric that circulated freely in Vienna's coffee houses and public squares. He devoured pamphlets that spoke of Jewish conspiracies and Aryan supremacy, his mind becoming a breeding ground for extremist ideas. The seeds of hatred, sown in the fertile ground of his own personal failures and watered by the poisonous ideologies of the time, began to take root. The once aspiring artist was transforming into something far more dangerous, a man consumed by bitterness, resentment, and a thirst for power. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 provided an outlet for Hitler's growing sense of frustration and anger. He volunteered for the German army, eager to prove his worth on the battlefield. The horrors of war, far from deterring him, only deepened his extremist views. He served as a dispatch runner, witnessing firsthand the brutality of trench warfare. He endured mustard gas attacks, witnessed the deaths of countless comrades, and experienced the camaraderie and hardship of life on the front lines. The war, for Hitler, was a transformative experience, hardening his resolve and shaping his worldview. He emerged from the conflict a decorated soldier, but a deeply scarred man. Germany's defeat in 1918 left him feeling betrayed and humiliated. He refused to believe that Germany could have lost the war militarily, clinging instead to the stab-in-the-back myth, the idea that Germany had been betrayed by internal enemies, particularly Jews and socialists. This belief, fueled by his wartime experiences and the turmoil engulfing post-war Germany, would become a cornerstone of his political ideology. He returned to a defeated nation, ripe for a leader who could offer scapegoats for its humiliation and promises of future glory. Post-war Germany was a nation in chaos. The economy was in shambles, unemployment was rampant, and political instability reigned. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war, was viewed by many Germans as a humiliating and unjust punishment. It was in this climate of anger, resentment, and uncertainty that Hitler discovered his true calling: politics. He joined the German Workers' Party, a small fringe group that shared his nationalist and anti-Semitic views. His charisma and powerful speaking abilities quickly propelled him to prominence within the party. Hitler's speeches, delivered with fiery passion and conviction, resonated with a population desperate for answers and a way out of the darkness. He offered simple solutions to complex problems, blaming Germany's woes on internal enemies and promising to restore the nation to its former glory. His message, laced with hatred and prejudice, found fertile ground in the hearts of many Germans. The failed artist had found his canvas, not in paint and canvas, but in the hearts and minds of a disillusioned nation. Section 5. The rise of the Nazi Party, from beer hall speeches to political power. Under Hitler's leadership, the German Workers' Party, now renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party, grew rapidly in popularity. The party's platform, a toxic mix of nationalism, anti-Semitism and promises of economic revival, appealed to a broad swathe of German society. Hitler proved to be a master propagandist, skillfully exploiting the power of mass media and public spectacle to spread his message. He organized rallies and marches adorned with swastikas and Nazi banners, creating a spectacle that captivated the masses and projected an image of strength and unity. The Beer Hall Putsch of 1923, a failed attempt to seize power in Munich, only served to further solidify Hitler's image as a man of action willing to fight for his beliefs. Although the putsch landed him in prison, it gave him a national platform and allowed him to refine his ideology. While in prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, a rambling, hate-filled manifesto outlining his political and racial views. The book became the Bible of the Nazi movement, laying the groundwork for the horrors that were to come. After his release from prison, Hitler adopted a more strategic approach to gaining power. He recognized the importance of working within the existing political system, at least initially, to achieve his goals. The Great Depression played directly into Hitler's hands. As the German economy spiraled downward, the Nazi Party's popularity soared. People, desperate for solutions, flocked to Hitler's message of hope and national revival. In 1933, with the support of powerful industrialists and conservative politicians who saw him as a useful tool to achieve their own ends, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. He wasted no time in consolidating his power, dismantling democratic institutions, and transforming Germany into a totalitarian state. The Reichstag fire, a suspicious blaze that gutted the German parliament building, provided Hitler with the pretext he needed to suspend civil liberties and crack down on his opponents. The Enabling Act, passed by a cowed Reichstag, granted Hitler dictatorial powers, effectively ending democracy in Germany. With absolute power now in his hands, Hitler moved swiftly to reshape German society according to his twisted vision. He established a ruthless police state, headed by the Gestapo and the SS, silencing all opposition and instilling fear in the population. The Nazi Party's ideology permeated every aspect of German life. Schools became indoctrination centers, churning out generations of children taught to embrace Nazi ideology. The press and media were tightly controlled, spewing forth a constant stream of propaganda glorifying Hitler and the Nazi regime. Jews, targeted as the scapegoats for all of Germany's ills, were systematically stripped of their rights and subjected to relentless persecution. The Nuremberg laws, enacted in 1935, revoked German citizenship for Jews and prohibited marriage or sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews. The persecution culminated in the horrors of the Holocaust, a systematic campaign of genocide that resulted in the murder of 6 million Jews. The full extent of Hitler's crimes against humanity would only be fully revealed after the war, leaving an indelible stain on history. Driven by his twisted ideology and insatiable ambition, Hitler embarked on a path of aggression and territorial expansion that would ultimately plunge the world into war. He defied the Treaty of Versailles, rebuilding Germany's military strength and remilitarizing the Rhineland. In 1938, Hitler annexed Austria, his birthplace, into the Third Reich, fulfilling his long-held dream of uniting all German-speaking peoples under one flag. The world watched with growing apprehension as Hitler's ambitions grew bolder. The invasion of Poland on September 1st, 1939, marked the beginning of World War II, a global conflict that would claim the lives of tens of millions of people. Hitler's blitzkrieg tactics, employing lightning-fast armored attacks and overwhelming air power, initially caught his enemies off guard. However, Hitler had underestimated the resolve of the Allied powers. Great Britain, led by the defiant Winston Churchill, refused to surrender. The United States, drawn into the conflict after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, joined the fight alongside Great Britain and the Soviet Union, ultimately turning the tide of the war. On April 30th, 1945, as Soviet forces closed in on his Berlin bunker, Adolf Hitler committed suicide, bringing to an end his reign of terror. The world emerged from the ashes of World War II forever scarred by the horrors unleashed by Hitler's Nazi regime. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred and prejudice. The war itself, with its unprecedented levels of death and destruction, left an enduring legacy of pain and suffering. Despite the passage of time, Hitler's legacy continues to haunt the world. His name has become synonymous with evil, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, the seductive appeal of extremist ideologies, and the importance of safeguarding democratic values. The lessons learned from the horrors of the Nazi era remain as relevant today as ever. It is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the constant need for vigilance in the face of intolerance, hatred, and the seductive allure of simplistic solutions to complex problems. We must never forget the past, lest we be condemned to repeat it.